Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Jake and I talk about Standard and Vintage Masters this week. So if you don't know what Vintage Masters is, I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. The Mortarpod is brought to you by VerenCamp.com, VerenCamp.com. Scott Verencamp designed SeemsGoodMagic.com, my website. He did a great job. I just want you to check out his portfolio because he does really great work. The Mortarpod is also brought to you by SeemsGoodMagic.com. SeemsGoodMagic.com is a website I started a couple years ago. I record draft videos on it. Just got a bit of a following, and it's been great. People just watch the videos, really enjoy them. I enjoy making them. I enjoy meeting people who just like to talk about magic, and met a lot of nice people, so I'm really lucky to be a part of this podcast and be a part of the YouTube magic community. I'm glad to be a part of it. I just want to remind you, check out my YouTube site and please subscribe to that. It helps me out a lot to gauge how many listeners I have, so subscribe to my YouTube account and follow me on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. That way you'll know when I've put up a new draft video or am live streaming. Live stream times currently are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm pretty consistent with that, and if you can't make those live times, you can at least watch the videos later, and that's at www.twitch.tv/Inez27. Okay, well, I think that's all I've got for you this week, so enjoy the episode. All right. Alex Stevenson, Jake Face here. Going to report a little bit on some interesting stuff that we've found out this week. So first, why don't we talk about the most exciting thing, Vintage Masters. So this isn't actually going to be released until June 2014, so we've got a while yet, but this is pretty groundbreaking stuff. So they did Modern Masters, 6 months ago, something around that?
No, it's less time than that.
Even less than that. And now we've got Vintage Masters. So similar sort of idea. They're infusing the staple vintage cards into Magic Online. And yes, that does mean Power 9. So we're looking at Black Lotus, Time Twister, all the Moxes, Ancestral Recall. What am I missing? Time Walk.
Time Twister, did you say?
Time Twister, Moxes, Time Walk, Ancestral Recall, Black Lotus. Hey, imagine that. All the Power 9 colored cards are blue.
Yeah.
Of course. But this is really cool, and it even means you have a chance of getting foil Power 9, which is insane. The idea of a foil Black Lotus is really,
mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
It's making me want to draft this for sure. So they're going to be $7 a pack. Jake, why don't you give us your scoop, what you think of this idea?
I think it'll be really cool. I am interested to see what they do for the rest of the set beyond just the Power 9. I'm assuming that what they're going to do is do legacy playable cards that weren't up for Modern Masters. So everything that would have had a board, an old border. So this one we might get a card, or we might get something like Goblin Pile Driver. Or, they might do that instead of, in the last set, I don't know what, the major goblins were, but Empty the Warrens and all that was in Modern Masters. So this time around, I think it'll be, let's put those those legitimate cards from those previous deck archetypes in this now, kind of like Legacy and Vintage Masters.
Okay.
So maybe Wasteland we'll see too.
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if something like Mishra's Workshop didn't show up.
Yeah. What about the Bizarre Baghdad?
That could be in there too.
Because that's a staple of the Legacy Dredge, I think.
Yeah,
so.
Everything that's on the reserve list is fair game online for reprinting.
So wait, what about the smokestack thing? Was
Yep,
that
you can do that. But they also have to make it a format that you can play just in its own limited environment. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see
How
where
they
they
do
want to
draft.
go. Yeah, like what strategies they actually want to put in those. I could see maybe blue-green being stompy or something like that, where it's just putting creatures out and tempoing them out. I guess red could have lots of good burn with lightning bolt being around. You could do chain lightning in red too for vintage. There's just so much. That's the problem. There really is a lot that's available.
They're just gonna have to isolate it to what the most popular vintage decks have been throughout the last 15 years or however they've had this format around. I mean, it's a crazy format.
It's a really crazy format.
I mean, neither Jake or I have ever actually played vintage before. It's just such a restrictive format. You have
price-wise, it is very restrictive.
I mean, we're talking thausands of dollars.
You pretty much have to have all the Moxes and the Lotus.
And then dual lands too.
Yeah, and you do need your dual lands. So already you're looking at thousands of dollars without even having cards in your deck.
The name's escaping me right now. What are those drafts called where it's like all the good cards?
Cube?
Yeah, cube drafts. I feel like recently, because the last couple cubes, they included Power 9 in it, so maybe that was like a dip their feet in, test the water of the programming of
the whole thing about Power 9 is that none of them are really overpowered when you only have one in your deck of them.
And when everyone else has access to them too.
Exactly. That is really the thing. That's the thing that's going to level the playing field for Vintage Online, is that everyone will have their fair shot to get these. They may have to pay money to get them.
I don't even think we can comprehend the price.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not ready to say they're going to be too much. I could see Moxes going for 30s, like 50s for the blue, maybe even more. I can't see 100 on a Mox. I can see 100 on a Lotus. Time Twister, Time Walk, and Ancestral, I could see 100 on each of those. Maybe not Time Twister.
I'm really concerned it's going to be hundreds in a few months because, I mean, how long are they going to be doing this this format? You know what I mean? Do you think it's going to be one of those things they cycle and they'll bring back every year maybe?
Well, Vintage it's just going to be a legit format. They're just going to put it in and it's going to be on there.
No, I mean the Vintage Masters. What do you think they're? I don't think they're going to do a one and done. I kind of feel like they're going to.
They'll probably leave it up for a year or two, like I would think.
They can't even come back to it. I feel like it'd be something that you'd have to come back to.
Vintage Masters too, and just keep doing Power 9 in it.
Yeah. What did they do for the? What was the other format where they infused like legacy cards in? Because they did that.
What was that called?
Whatever that was called. They did something like this before.
Yeah. It's not Modern Masters. God,
there was actually a lot of janky cards in that format, but they were good for limited, like you said. So I don't feel like they're going to be doing.
Well, they did a lot of like limited stuff for that, but then they also gave you.
That was for dual lands and other
Candelabra
stuff.
Was in there. I remember. God, what was that called? Masters Edition.
Masters Edition. So I mean, they're definitely trying to infuse online. I think they're ultimately seeing that online is the future of the game. Not that the paper Magic's going anywhere, but they need to compete with games like Hearthstone, and they need to compete with games like I don't know, just other Hex when it eventually comes out. These digital card games that are maybe picking up steam. Yeah. You know how Blizzard rolls? They come in and they're like, "Hey, cash cow." Don't mind if we do. We're going to dip our hands in that a little bit.
Yeah.
So Blizzard is good at coming in, except when it comes to Diablo 3. But for the most of the... I didn't even play it, so I guess I can't.
Yeah, I didn't play it either.
I'm just saying Blizzard is good at making games. I can tell you both Jake and I have played Hearthstone, and the game is a lot of fun.
Enjoyed it, yeah.
It's very intuitive, simple. Does not take nearly as long to get good at it as it did for Magic. So... yeah, I think that's good for Vintage Masters. I mean, that's all we really know.
Yeah.
It's early yet, but we're gonna see Power 9.
The art is all sweet.
Yep.
The Moxes and Black Lotus art, it's all been done before, or like it's art that they're just using for this. I'm assuming the other three are also pieces that they used before too, for the oversized cards that they used to give out for the Vintage tournament, the yearly Vintage tournament. But yeah, they're all sweet. I really like the Vulcan Baga Moxen, and but it's at a Chris Ron Black Lotus, which looks really cool.
Yeah, I guess I would have thought with any of the pictures, the Black Lotus would have been the one they kept the same.
Mm.
But it still actually looks pretty similar
Yeah.
to the first one, I think. The skeleton wasn't in the first one, right?
No.
But the flower actually looks almost identical.
Mm.
So this will be fun. I can tell you I'm going to be jamming this.
Yeah,
and if
I'm
people,
actually excited to play it too.
I think if people are receptive about it, I'm not afraid to sort of jam this for a while. If I can get the staples, maybe start jamming some vintage, learn some things online. That would be
real vintage would be fun too.
That'd be a cool format to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And online, I feel like would be a way to do it without paying,
I wonder how
extreme
much
amounts of money.
those, like, how much are duels online?
That's a good question. They're pricey. They're like 30 or 40, I guess.
Yeah.
30 to 50, I think.
Too.
Somewhere around there.
I guess it's
Maybe
way
even
less
more than
expensive than in real life.
Could be even more than that, but I don't know. Since none of them are redeemable for real life, that really does sort of limit the price that they can put them at. But I was saying to Jake, like, what is a foil Black Lotus going to be worth online? Because there's going to be some sick people that want the foil vintage
deck. Yeah.
Good on my foil Power 9.
Grown.
Flashing the EP.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for Vintage Masters. That'll be interesting. We'll keep you more.
Really cool.
I'm going to play the crap out of it, I think, even though it's kind of expensive, $7 a booster, but it just seems too fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like something.
It's like one of those once-in-a-lifetime type things.
Oh, totally. All right, now, before we get into the lists from Indianapolis, I'm just going to talk about my standard experience. I'm jamming, so my F&M, I got in top 4, and then we did a top 4 split of prizes because it was getting pretty late. But let's see, I played Boros Aggro, I played Mono Black Devotion, I played against a Mono Blue Devotion, and, oh, sorry, phone's ringing. Rude me. Let me get rid of this. What were the other matches I played? Let me talk a little bit about the Mono Devotion decks, because Jake and I were talking about it in the car over here a little bit, and that does seem to be sort of the popular deck at the moment, because they're fairly cheap to construct. Like, Jake, have you seen that Pack Rat is like a real deal now? Mm-hmm. I think the most interesting part of Pack Rat is that the tokens still generate devotion because they are in fact just copies of Pack Rat. Yeah. So that's pretty fascinating. And Pack Rat can take over games. It does seem, Esper Control did take this tourney that we're going to look at, but I would say in our meta there's very little control. Jake represents most of the control in our meta.
Yeah, I think there's maybe
Mike Holloman, another friend of ours.
He's white-blue.
Yeah, he does like blue-white. So there's really just not that much. Yeah. Occasional people, try it out a little bit. But since there's not much in our meta, I would say Mono Black feels a lot better in that. I don't know how good it is. It's got Thoughtseize main deck, so I can see that beneficial in the control match. But I will say Mono Black against my Boros Aggro list was really bad, because their main deck can read the bones and Thoughtseize, and that just is like it doesn't do anything against red deck. It's just not enough. I was saying it like, if you're damaging yourself and you're tapping out and you're not killing anything, then that's like way too many hindrances against mono, or practically mono red. Right. I'm glorified mono red. I'm pretty much, if you don't know the list already, it's like a mono red aggro, but I'm splashing white for Chain to the Rocks main deck, and then out of sideboard I have Boros Charms for the control matches with Supreme Verdict, and I was doing War Leader Helix. I might swap out of that. I'm not sure yet. And a couple pacifisms. They're kind of nice for dealing with, like. But I will say, Chain of the Rocks was phenomenal against Mono Black. It can take out the Night Veil Specters, and take out the Pack Rat for 1 mana. The nice thing is Pack Rat is like not a big deal against you at all, because you're running Shocks, you're running Lightning Strikes, you're running Chain to the Rocks. So you have all of these really cheap ways to deal with it. So they can't even really play Pack Rat until they have 5 mana. And them getting to 5 mana against Mono Red is not likely to happen.
Right.
So they do have life gain, though.
Double Whip.
Gray Merchant is, a staple of that deck. So Mono Black was, I mean, I think it's just their main deck is not geared well against what your list is trying to do. So I bet it's good in most metas, but there's really just not much Boros aggro or Mono Red being played right now. But I'm going to stand by that Mono Red is pretty good. It's working well for me. Mono Blue, when I played against that round 1, I just straight up won because the Chain of the Rocks could take out Master of Waves. If I didn't have the Chain of the Rocks, I would have easily lost Master of Waves. He just slammed turn 4 Master of Waves, and I had the rocks for it. So that match just becomes infinitely easier when you can do that.
Yeah.
Because they're playing cheap creatures, but their cheap creatures just die to your spot removal while you play your cheap creatures. So you can just really outpace them. I will say Frostburn Weird is something in that deck that is detrimental. But the beauty of the deck is you're running 4 Fire Fist Strikers, and like a lot of times they'll just block with Frostburn Weird and then not kill your guy. Plus, then you can throw a burn spell at it.
Yeah.
So there are ways. It's not like Frostburn Weird's breaking the deck.
Yeah.
It's just a really good thing that they have, and then it becomes infinitely more difficult for them to get Thassa online when you're burning all their creatures, like when you're lightning striking their Night Veil Spectre, So it's kind of easy to turn off Thassa, in my opinion, with the deck, all the burn spells. So Mono Blue, even though they do have the the Pro Red Master of Waves, if you have the right answer for it, you can take it out pretty easily. And actually, the funny thing is, even Mono Red could technically do like Trickery overloaded. And at least, even though they don't kill the Master of Waves, they're taking care of
The only
you.
issue is if they get a second.
Yeah, then you're in big trouble. Because then they're getting double boosted.
Yeah. But otherwise,
it is cool that Mono Red at least can do something. Because a lot of times they just need that one turn where it's like, okay, I just need to get by this army.
Yeah.
And then I'm good.
Right.
But I just like having more options because green-white, as we'll see here in a second, is the real deal. And I just don't like losing to Unflinching Courage. Wear and Tear is another thing I added to my sideboard. I was really happy I did that. Whip of Erebus is just extremely popular right now.
Yeah, it's very, very popular.
The whole Obsidian Whip of Erebus thing is just...
people can't get enough of that interaction.
It's a deadly combination.
Yeah.
I'd say the best deck that's geared against you, and I played this even though we drew into top 8, the deck that I think gives Boros aggro the most problem in my list is the Borzov, so it's black, white, red, and it was running like Anger of the Gods, Obsidian, Whip of Erebus, Blood Baron of Vizkopa, Boros Reckoner. There's just so many good threats against the deck there. I ended up beating him because we drew in and then we just played for fun, and I did end up winning, but there's so many good threats you have to deal with. Like Obsidian, you can race it because they don't get it till turn 5, and it's only a 4-point life swing, which you can easily race. But Blood Baron of Vizkopa is a huge deal. I'm going to up my sideboard Mizium Mortar count to 4. I think that's absolutely essential for the deck.
Yeah.
You really need to be able to kill Storm Breath. You really need to be able to kill Blood Baron of Vizkopa and Loxodon Smiter and just those really those big dudes that come down fast because they're very popular and they're really strong. And Mizium Mortars has just been phenomenal for me for those threats because they're so highly played.
Right.
I do like that pacifism out of side. Deals with Voice of Resurgence, kind of, It doesn't deal with the
instant speed thing, but it still works against it.
And you don't have to worry about them getting that token from it dying, which is always a hassle. And, additionally, it deals with, like, Boros Reckoner and stuff like that. So I do like pacifism out of the side. I brought it in a couple times. But let's take a look at this green-white aggro list. I didn't play against this week, but I kind of want to see what I'd have to deal with. Looks like main deck Rootborn Defenses. There's some Selesnya Charms main deck. Should be noted about Selesnya Charms. I don't know why we haven't mentioned this yet. It deals with all the gods, right? It straight up exiles them.
Yep.
Is there any that it doesn't? What was Heliod's power toughness?
They're all 5 power at least.
Okay. So, I mean...
5 or 6.
That kind of changes my evaluation of the charms a little bit. I might have to put Selesnya Charm right up there with Azorius now. Just because of the popularity of the god creatures. I don't know if you knew that Erebus is starting to see some play.
Only as a 1-of right now in the main. But
I got a chance to see him in action, though, and I saw someone, pay 4 life, but they had an Obsidian going, and they had Blood Baron. I was like, wow, that feels pretty good.
Yeah. No, I really liked him when he was initially spoiled. Just, I didn't with Thragtusk leaving, his life gain thing didn't really seem as useful as it could be normally.
Wow, kind of surprising in this list to see Scion of Vitu-Ghazi.
Yeah, that one surprised me too.
It's weird. You get a bird with it, and you get to populate. Okay.
Could advent.
Yep, they got 4 advents, so I guess that does make it's a turn progression. Makes kind of makes some sense. Experiment 1 almost makes it feel like it's aggressive, but I guess they have Boon Satyrs and Voices and Vitu-Ghazi for, duping your Advent of the Worm stuff as well. This is a interesting list.
Yeah, it is. To make 3rd place.
No Unflinching Courage main deck.
Side, yeah.
I feel like that would help my match tremendously. They only have 2 out of sideboard, so I actually feel like
this
that
guy was not planning to play
against red deck, yeah. And I would say that's an intelligent
3 Mistfire Hydra.
Oh
really
God,
leads me to
wait, is it
believe
main deck? Oh, just sideboard. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point though, and that is a good point. Unflinching Courage, 2 out of sideboard, so
Tristani's Judgment, or Tristani would also help against red deck, so.
Is that main deck? I didn't see.
That's sideboard also.
Okay.
So he has sideboard options to red deck.
Mm-hmm.
But why a 4th Scion of Vitu-Ghazi? What is that card so good for that you want to have 4 of them?
I wonder if it's just a good follow-up after a sweeper, because it puts a couple more threats down and makes your populate spells a little more useful.
Yeah.
But I mean, they already have Selesnya Charm, I guess, too, for more populate.
So maybe it is all about the post-sweeper aspect of it. Because going Selesnya Charm into Scion, get another knight, get a bird, it's not terrible.
No, it's kind of good. So, I mean, it's still lost to the control match, but I really believe Green-White Aggro's worst matchup is control.
Yeah, I would say that.
They've got the good threats, and I do like that this is doing Fleecemane Lion, although I'm kind of surprised he only did 3. He must have been getting clumped up on him and felt like a 3/3 wasn't doing enough in the later game.
2 mana.
Maybe it just
Weird.
maybe it just wasn't doing enough in the later game,
Yeah.
But you'd think it would still be useful with your monstrosity. That is weird. But that looks like a list that we would actually be doing okay against. So this actually feels like it's a decent opportunity for Boros Aggro to come in and sort of do something in the meta, stir it up a little bit. I know it seems weird because there's so many good creatures against the Boros Aggro list, but Firedrinker Satyr and Rakdos Cackler, I was right, and a Mutavault. So many times you get the turn progression that's like Cackler, second turn, play your Mutavault, play a Fire Fist Striker, and you've already got a perfect army. You've got 3 creatures, so you're hitting them for 7 on turn 3, and you're not committing any more cards to the board. So you've really only played like 2 creatures, and you've got an awesome little engine going. And the Burning Tree, of course, putting stuff over the top a lot of the time. And if your meta is anything like mine, not a lot of control. The nice thing is you don't feel as bad overextending. Not a ton of sweepers are being played right now. Like I said, that Borzov match has Anger of the Gods, which is phenomenal against the deck. But if your meta does not have a bunch of the Esper or black-white, whatever, blue-white control lists, then you don't have to worry about Supreme Verdict. And if you don't have to worry about Supreme Verdict, you should feel pretty good. Because it's sweepers that ruin red deck. If you're not afraid to overextend, then you're feeling really good. Like when I played against Mono Blue, I ended the game with like 7 creatures out. Just a couple Fire Fist Strikers, and then they can't even do anything about it. So being able to go that over the top really is a shining point for Boros Aggro, because they can poop out tons of creatures fast. 4 or 5 creatures, including a Mutavault on like turn 3 or 4. It gets really out of control fast. So I still like it in this match if they're not gearing main deck for red deck that well. Let's see how hard let's take a look at this Esper control list. Aetherling, a couple Elspeths, 4 Jace Architect of Thoughts, main deck, couple Thoughtseize, 4 Supreme Verdict, and a Merciless Eviction, so 5 Sweeper, 1
Contemplating
Syncopate.
against gods, though. Merciless Eviction is really good.
Oh yeah, it's a good call. 4 Sphinx's Revelation, 3 Heroes Downfall, 3 Dissolve, 4 Azorius Charm, 4 Detention Sphere. Good removal suit. A couple Blood Barons out of side. I'm assuming they bring that in against me, or decks like mine. They really need that life gain. 4 Doomblades out of side. That's fascinating too. I wonder where the swap is for that.
I would say maybe Detention Sphere. You just want to
Just
go
too
all
clunky.
instant.
So they probably bring that against me too. maybe the Detention Sphere is too slow, but it's still actually good against me too.
Detention Sphere is really good. I find myself against a creature deck though not wanting to play it because it's on my turn.
I see. And
Wanting
you'd
to
rather
keep
leave
my
up.
counter up
Okay.
or my Azorius Charm, you know. So Doomblade against the green-white aggro would be a lot better than Detention Sphere.
Did you find yourself running into issues because of people packing Enchantment Hate now? For stuff like Whip and for stuff like, Biden, Devlasiv, some mono blue lists.
Not really. I guess I didn't really find it. It's something I was afraid of, but I guess I wasn't planning for it necessarily.
Okay. Because I think that's my only issue with Detention Sphere right now, because it is literally the only Oblivion Ring effect in the format right now. And it happens to be a huge upgrade from Oblivion Ring. So
it does suck that you can't ever remove another Detention Sphere with your Detention Sphere, though.
True. And they're never going to bring Oblivion Ring back. Because of the wording.
Yeah.
Yep. So Oblivion Ring's gone for good in terms of standard. So I feel like they're going to bring it back at common. They're just going to have to do it in a new way. But then you're thinking, I guess for older formats, then there's even another Oblivion Ring effect. That'd be kind of crazy, just all sorts of Oblivion Ring effects. Or maybe they won't do anything like that again. Maybe they'll be more cautious.
Maybe.
Detention Sphere might be the last of that breed. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't actually know.
I think they really like Oblivion Ring as a catch-all.
I think people do too.
Yeah, people do.
Absolutely. So that's a cool list. I'm assuming the second place list is similar.
Very similar.
Looks almost identical. A couple ultimate price, a couple divinations. Far and away. Main deck Doomblade. Pretty similar. Blood Barons once again out of sideboard. Really, Mizium Mortars shine so much for that card. Let's look at this Black-Green Devotion. This took 4th. This sounds interesting. So, Desecration Demons, Grey Merchants of Asphodel. It looks like mono black so far. Where's the green coming in? Let's see. Abrupt Decay is main deck.
That's it.
And that's it? Wow, okay. So, Abrupt Decay, I guess that important. Let's say you the most important things that you're wanting to hit with Abrupt Decay. I mean, obviously, Detention Sphere.
Loxodon Smiter, I guess.
That one's good.
Reckoner. Those are both good. I don't know. There's not actually a ton. And the mono blue Devotion, Night Veil Spectre, I guess.
Yeah,
getting rid of 3 Devotion is pretty good. Getting rid of Frostburn weird too.
You can't even get rid of Thassa because indestructible. No.
Detention Sphere is probably the best though.
That justifies 4 main deck. I guess Underworld Connections too. That's kind of cool. You can take out opposing ones. So if you're expecting, I bet that's real good. Maybe this guy was expecting a lot of the mirror match. Then I could really see why the main deck Abrupt Decays would help. Because Underworld Connections, I noticed, was like a very integral aspect of that deck.
Yeah.
Because the life loss didn't matter at all when you're gaining it all back.
Right.
With extra, with your Grey Merchant. So this looks like a fun list. I mean, you get the Golgari Charms out of sideboard too, which obviously is relevant since Enchantment Hate is hitting all sorts of targets right now. Putrefy out of sideboard.
That's cool.
Solid removal spell.
Very good.
Although, I mean, it's obviously not Hero's Downfall.
It's very close, and
it's nice that Putrefy
2 different permanent types.
It's nice that Putrefy hits Whip too.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good thing to notice.
Or their opposite.
You're right. So it's just straight up different options. There's a Whip of Erebus out of sideboard here to go with the main deck one. So upping the count on that, probably against decks like ours, the the Boros aggro thing. A couple Erebus, I guess, for the control matches, or maybe probably just control.
Yeah, I think it's best against control. 4 Sphinx's Revelation in both the Esper control lists, and I'm assuming the blue-white decks are running 4 as well. Stops Obsidat and anyone trying to do the whip shenanigan with him. We haven't seen anybody doing it though in this top 8.
Yeah, that is
funny.
It's very fascinating, and it doesn't look like it's anywhere in here either.
That was that's been a really popular thing in ours. I don't know if it was big on Friday. I didn't go, but
definitely big for ours. Let's take a look at these kind of other unusual lists. So taking 9th Naya tokens. Very curious about this. Smiter, Stormbreath, Elspeth, Xenagos, a couple of symbols. and Advent to the Worms. So, and Celestia Charm. So I guess there are a fair couple, 4 Anger the Gods. So it looks like some sort of mid-range token deck. It's pretty
Yeah, it looks
strange.
like he's just board wipes.
A lot of value though. You got your Smiters and your Storm Breaths at your mid-range, and then early on, and your Elspeth. So just mid-range in general, definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty because his creatures that he plays alongside Elspeth die to her middle ability, which is always like
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
the thing that you don't want to do.
You just know he's not doing it.
Well, you know he's not doing it, but
Yeah.
when the time comes that you need to use that ability, you don't ever want to wipe your own creatures with it either, you know? And essentially you're like cutting out one of her abilities.
It's very fascinating how it's almost like no ramp, too. He's got 2 key runes, but he's not, because of the Anger of the Gods, he's not doing your Voyaging Satyr, you're not seeing Sylvan Caryatid, you're not seeing... So this guy, I feel like, would be good against those decks, where you can just destroy all your Rampers and make those cards worthless. But then he's got, follow-up plays. But this looks like a deck that could stumble really hard. Because, I mean, it's like, you have to see your Chain to the Rocks or your Anger of the Gods. I really feel like you're going to have a hard time stopping the early threats. They do have Mortars, too. So, this looks like a fun deck. I bet this guy had a good time with this.
Yeah, I bet he did. But he was happy with it.
Couple Rurik Thars out of sideboard. Always interesting to see them. 4 Mistcutter Hydra. So he had a good...
I like Mistcutter Hydra a lot.
Good control sideboard package, it looks like.
I don't like Rurik Thar that much out of the sideboard against control. 6 mana is a lot to ask for.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no cavern either.
No ramp.
Sunhome Guildmage, where does this come in? I guess...
Pooping out guys are making him stronger?
I guess they're making him stronger, maybe against control too. I don't know. 2 more symbols, that has to come in against control.
I assume all your Chain to the Rocks come out against control.
Mm-hmm.
So you just put in the symbols and...
The Pithing Needle actually comes in because it stops Aetherlink, so it like turns on...
Jace.
Yep. So, and Elspeth for that matter, too.
Yeah, but you run Elspeth, so you don't want to turn off Elspeth.
Unless they already have theirs, sometimes you might have to.
Yeah.
If they're getting more value.
At 7.
Yeah.
I guess I would actually just rather play Glare of Heresy, though, to deal with Elspeth.
2 more Last Breaths out of side. This deck actually looks like it's fairly well geared to combat Boros aggro. The 4 Anger, 4 Mizium, and then 2 Last Breaths out of the side. That's a lot.
Actually, the Last Breaths is really funny, considering Voice of Resurgence is no problem for this deck with 4 Anger Gods and 4 Chain to the Rocks.
That is intriguing. So I wonder what that was specifically for.
And none of its removal is instant speed, so Voice of Resurgence really is nothing to this deck.
Yeah. Maybe it was something else. I don't know what, though.
Yeah, I don't really know what is worth bringing in Last Breath for.
What else you'd want to exile? It's not bad defensively, so maybe in a match where your life total matters, it can do double as I'm going to remove your cheap guy against Boros aggro, or I'm going to remove my token to gain this 4 life that's relevant right now.
I think I'd rather have a Centaur Healer, though, against Boros aggro then. And just gain 3 life and stop you from attacking me with your Fire Drinker Satyr. But
I was saying at FNM that I'm kind of surprised Centaur Healer's not enough value right now. It's just not Thragtusk.
Yeah, and 3 mana, 3/3. I don't know. It's really still good.
Too,
yeah, I think it is good.
I was surprised. Let's take a look at this blue, white, red, little America control.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got Aether. Oh, it's pretty similar. Let's see the differences justifying the red. We've got War Leader's Helix. We've got Assemble the Legion main deck, and is it Charm for posterity.
Red. Turn and Burn, though. That takes out...
oh, yeah, Turn and Burn as well.
Takes out Obsidian when it's landed. The only thing is, though, that...
Wait, does Turn and Burn take out gods or not?
Yeah.
Okay. So losing all abilities, they will lose their indestructibility, and then you fry them with Burn. That's actually really relevant. This would be a nice little Nylea out. This would be a nice little...
Yeah, Turn and Burn is really, actually very good. It's just...
The color, the whole Grixis idea.
Why even go red when you have Hero's Downfall already at your disposal? You can clearly play Detention Spheres.
How do you feel about Grixis now? Now that I'm saying that, Grixis. Think about your removal.
You could remove everything.
You get Far and Away. You get Turn and Burn. You get Hero's Downfall.
You don't get that many kill conditions.
I'm trying to think.
Storm Breath. I guess you get Desecration Demon if you want that too. And Demon would be really good in a heavy removal deck.
Still have Aetherlin.
Yep.
And,
So maybe Grixis is good, but
Grixis sounds
nothing
fun.
competes with Elspeth.
That's true. And you have the most play experience with her
Yeah.
out of this group so far. So, I mean, and I've actually just seen her play.
Just going up.
She goes out of control.
Yeah.
Two turns, and it's like, this got out of hand.
Yeah. If you don't deal with it the turn she is played, it's already too much to deal with.
Because then it just becomes I'm going to play my Revelation and sit behind this Elspeth.
Yeah, even board wiping away their 9 tokens before they're about to get the emblem is like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I guess I have an emblem for my...
just, emblem and play a new one and then poop out three threes.
Yeah. But Grixis actually looks fun. I mean, I'm not a control player, so I understand. And you don't get Supreme Verdict, so I guess that does make...
You get Anger, the Gods, and Mysium Mortars.
And Tournament and stuff.
Yeah.
It's more spot removal based, so I feel like Grixis Control would be a deck that was...
It's really good for, like, a mid-range heavy format, probably.
Yeah. That might be something you should ponder.
Yeah, because then you can play, like, Thoughtseize against them, too, if it's mid-range heavy. Yeah. And you can main deck your Thoughtseize.
I like it. No, I like that a lot. And I can't believe we haven't seen more Turn and Burn.
Yeah, actually, really Turn by itself takes out Master of Waves too. As long as you don't try and fuse them, you can turn the Master of Waves, killing all the tokens, and then
that's awesome.
Just kill it with anything.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. That's a really good idea. All right, so this looks like a fun little brew. I mean, this wasn't even Grixis, but it kind of does make sense why you want the white. Supreme Verdict, Azorius Charm,
Detention Sphere.
All
of those are really relevant.
Pretty relevant cards. But too. Grixis may still be an option. Maybe you're right.
Thought Flare is good. I will say Thought Flare is good.
I think we would need to really examine what kind of win con you want to do.
It's the life gain too that white gives you access to that really helps out.
Revelation. Let's face it, there's a lot of good white-blue cards.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that is legitimately why Grixis is not being played.
Yeah.
Plus, like you said, not enough win cons, perhaps.
Blue-black, it doesn't really have a lot of good kill conditions. Just blue and black, I don't know. I'm trying to think of Dimir cards that would have even been playable in Standard, and I can't really think of many.
It is cool that you get the Ashiok
in
the Grixis list.
You can play, like, Psychic Strike as a counter spell too.
So I guess at that point you could do Jace Memory Adept.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a Grixis Mill.
Yeah, it's just a little too... I'd rather just do blue-black and play Aetherize as my, like, way to board wipe,
Fascinating. I can see that, though. Yeah, maybe Esper is the way to go. Just too much to lose.
And you lose a lot by taking white away from yourself.
Maybe, I mean, this is calling it way early, but once we see this full set of temples, we might be looking at some 4 or 5 color control lists. See what that mana base
Chromatic
looks like.
Lantern is still around.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking that very recently, like, Chromatic Lantern kind of makes everything into a Vivid Land, or like a Reflecting Pool and a Vivid Land, basically. So you're good to go on any type of removal. So what you need at that point, though, is the really awesome counterspell that Cryptic Command was, and then you need, and also the removal or fog that it was. Cryptic Command just really set up 5-color control to be what it could be back when it was popular the first time or whatever. Now you really need to go blue-white base with something else, because you want Sphinx's Detention Sphere and Supreme Verdict.
Too important.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all the lists. In top 8, I played against a black-white list. I gave up one game. I was able to really steamroll it, because once again, it was a deck that was like main decking Duresses and stuff. So, I mean, it was okay against me, but like obviously not that good. Basically, anytime you're trying to do hand disruption against red deck wins, you're not
succeeding.
Succeeding. Really not succeeding. Thoughtseize in particular with the life sin, but even Duress is just not good enough, I don't think.
Thoughtseize is like, basically it was a removal spell at sorcery speed after you already used that thing on me, because I already ate 2 damage from it.
But I gave up one game to the black-white. It's like black-white mid-range, sort of. Some extort. I saw like Crypt Gas, Tide Drinkers.
Oh.
Death Pact Angel was in there, interestingly.
Yeah.
But it was like Whip of Erebus. It was actually kind of a budget deck that made top 8. But I was able to beat it in 3 games. And like I said, we split top 4. I think I'm actually missing a match or 2 from my
The
FNM.
Swiss.
Yeah, from the Swiss round. So I put Mono Black, Devotion, Mono Blue, Devotion.
Did you play green, mono green, or green red?
I did not, didn't play either of those kind of stompy little builds. I think I actually got lucky with a couple matches. One was like a younger kid, and he was playing. This is my first round, I mean, no, my second round, and he was playing like a intro pack that he'd modded. So it was like Mantar Skull Cleavers and like Magma Jets and stuff, whatever one that was. So that was like fairly easy, although admittedly I gave up a game to that. So it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mid-range stompy. It had like Gore Clan Rampager, Polykranos, Nemesis Immortal, which was obviously part of the intro pack.
Yeah.
But so I was pretty easily able to defeat that, and so yeah, I think I did just say all the matches then. So I played Mono Blue Devotion first. I played that deck, the intro pack thing, second. I played Mono Black third, and then fourth we drew in, but I played like the Borzov list, and then top 8 was the Black White mid range. So I guess I did have some fairly easy matches, but I would say I played against Mono Black and I played against Mono Blue. Those are 2 very popular archetypes right now, and the deck was able to beat them. So I feel good about it. Still in the meta. I'd love to see some more or any suggestions on that. Jake had to miss FNM last week, but hopefully it'll come.
I think I'm gonna make it this week for sure, though.
Okay, cool. So we'll do some more reports on that and let you know more as we learn it. And check out seemsgoodmagic.com. Watch the draft videos. I've still been putting up Darrow's draft. I think I'm on like number 7 now. So I'm still digging the format. It's a fun, limited environment. It's I love doing Swiss. I got to tell you, I know I've had a couple complaints, people not digging the Swiss, but I love it. Swiss is the best. I just want to play a bunch of Magic and not have a high risk situation. Because when you play so much,
showing the games is the part that you want to show. At the same time, though, you do miss out on that competitive.
Yeah, it's not as challenging, but to say that it's just straight up easy would be definitely BS, because there are some good Swiss players.
What I do like about Swiss is being able to try out new draft styles and strategies that you haven't done before, or that you know are there, that you can visualize what R&D was doing when they put them in, but that you are too afraid to try because they will not necessarily be the best draft strategy out there.
I wouldn't say do drafts to make money or draft for free. You have to be not only do you have to be confident in your ability, you have to be confident in your ability to beat luck factors too. Because I mean, there's games, there's matches you give up that you literally had no chance of winning.
Mana Screw is
Mana Screw, Mana Flood. They get bomb turn progression. Sometimes they just roll you. They'll just card, dead.
Yeah, I have the 4 lands in my hand that I need to play the 3 other cards, and then I'm only drawing gas.
Yeah.
Those hands.
That happens.
Yeah.
And it's totally out of your control. So that's the reason I just don't like the 8-4s, but I am still doing the same policy where if I win a Swiss draft, I do an 8-4. If I make the finals of the 8-4, I keep doing 8-4s, but if I don't, then I go back to Swiss. Repeat. Just keep doing that. So I still have that system going. Follow us on Twitter, @SeemsGoodMagic. Live streaming, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. People have been stopping out. I appreciate that. I was on, don't know what episode it was, but the Monday Night Magic podcast, the MTG Cast, flagship podcast for the network. And the episode is entitled Seems Good in Louisville. So go check that one out. That was a lot of fun. I hope I can go back on that or have one of those guys on our podcast.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Cool too.
We're in need of a guest. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has
so maybe we'll talk to Buck or even Gabe if you haven't, or Tristan if you haven't checked out Tristan's draft video. He posted it again. He's going to try and do some more dailies, but he's running like a black-white mid-range list. And that deck looks really good too.
Mhm.
That was popular like a week ago, but that was like we said, kind of one that fell off the radar a little bit. But
Yeah.
the one he's running is really, really solid. I like it a lot. It's like Precinct Captains and Soldiers of Pantheon, Desecration Demon, Elspeth. A lot of bomb
Does he have
cards.
Sin Collectors too, or sideboard Sin Collectors?
Yeah, he's got to.
Yeah.
Sin Collector's
Sin
too
Collector.
good.
People love Sin
Yep.
Collector.
That's another popular card, at least definitely for sideboard.
Mhm.
Awesome against the Esper list, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
So, yeah, I think that's it for this episode. And, yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you guys later.